Hello and welcome to this edition of the WT Coaches Show. I'm your host, Kelton Weens, and I'm here with Lady Buff basketball head coach Mark Kellogg. Now, Coach, first, welcome back to Canyon. How has the transition been for you and your family this first season?
It's been probably pretty seamless, to be completely honest. It feels really natural for me. Now, my family had not really been here before, but for me, being a former coach, graduate student here, it felt pretty comfortable. We had just moved a year ago, though, and with two little kids, you kind of worry about it, but they've done a really good job adjusting, and maybe it's through experience because we just did it a year ago, so they were familiar with it. But I feel like my wife, she feels really comfortable here, feels pretty settled, felt like we got settled pretty quick. So from our standpoint, family standpoint, we feel really good about it.
Coach, back on the court, you opened the season at Fort Smith, and you got 2 wins against Northeastern State and Arkansas Fort Smith. Tell us about those games.
Yeah, 2 completely different types of games. Northeastern is a much more half-court, grind it out, make it ugly, kind of team. And we played them last year, so I had a little bit of experience going into playing them. Obviously, some new personnel. But we led wire to wire, but that doesn't mean they, I will use the expression, they did punch us. We got punched a couple times. We led, they tied it up. I think Casey Land hit a huge 3 to kind of get us a little momentum back, and then we, kind of gapped it a little bit at the end. But it was nice to see our kids kind of get punched and have to fight back because we hadn't seen that as a group yet at all through any of the scrimmages or things like that. We just hadn't been punched a whole lot. So it was nice to see that, nice to respond the way we did. Casey Land led us in that game and had a really, really good night for us. And then came back on the short turnaround and played a Fort Smith team that plays up and down, fast pace. They got a lot of size, some really good athletes, so we knew we were going to be tested from a completely different standpoint. And we would like to play that way also, but we wanted to make sure we were the more disciplined, more structured team. We were not in the first 20 minutes. We went down 4 going into the half, and it was pretty ugly, probably, to be completely honest. Made some good halftime adjustments. The kids kind of understood what we were talking about, I think, at that point. And then I think we beat them by 19 in the second half. So we played a lot better, forced a lot more turnovers, even though we slowed down our defense and took away more space instead of tried to speed up Fort Smith, and we actually turned them over more, which led to some easy points. So I think we finished with 17 steals. It led to a lot of easy baskets, ended up scoring 85. Devin was phenomenal in that game, and then Lacey Logan was pretty good in that game also.
Coach, what kind of culture are you trying to establish here at WT?
Well, I think that, when you talk about culture, that to me, that's all encompassing of your entire program, so we have like an on the court culture or system, and then you have kind of the off the court in the classroom type culture. But, for us, we base our program off 4 pillars is kind of is the spiel, I guess, if you will, is, the first one is your family, your faith, and your friends. And then academics and athletics, and then the life outside of basketball. And we want to keep those in that order. And if we do, we think we have balance in our lives. And this is we want balance. We want our kids to have a life outside of basketball. We want them to do great in the classroom, and we're going to hold them accountable in the classroom. And then obviously we want to have success on the basketball court. And if we keep them in line, like we just talked about, then I think we can, we can have success. So that's kind of the culture. The culture is we're going to be a family. We're going to treat it that way as a group. We're going to put an onus on them to do well in the classroom. We've had some success doing that, so we think, we got some kids buying into that. And then we think if we do those things, it'll also, it'll go into the playing and we'll have success on the basketball court.
Coach, a lot of veterans on this team, but are there any players that are making your transition to WT a little bit easier?
I don't know if there's any real individuals. You could probably put the senior class in a group. When you take over a program and you have 5 seniors that obviously have a basketball talent but are great kids, they've been through the ringer a few times. These kids are hungry from the way last year ended. So, I stepped into probably a pretty good situation from that standpoint. Not that we're not motivating and doing things a little bit differently and putting our stamp on it, but the cupboard wasn't bare. And so now it's just maybe trying to push them a little bit further, a little bit harder, make them understand there's a different way to do things, which is what we're going to do. I've asked them to embrace change, because it's going to be different, and don't fight it. It's going to happen. It's natural to do that sometimes, but just embrace it. So probably I would put it on the senior class. Jordan Vessel's in that junior group, and Sean Wyatt have been really good. And, they're veteran kids. They've been through this also. So those kids are established, and now we're just trying to figure out some of the younger kids, the newer kids, who wants to, there's some minutes to, for somebody to take, but they got to go earn them. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now, is just trying to get those other kids, and see who wants to take, the bull by the horns and go earn those minutes. And so far, it's been somebody different every night.
Finally, Coach, you're on a little bit of a break right now, but you do hit the road on November 19th at Oklahoma Panhandle State. Give us your preview.
Yeah, I don't know too much about them, to be completely honest, because we had about 10 days. So we've kind of said as a coaching staff, we're going to spend about these 4 or 5 days just focused on us and not worry about anybody else, because we just have so much still to get done and to get better with our own program, not worrying too much about Panhandle. They're 0-1. They got beat by Cameron. They're going to play Adams State tonight. Adams just beat Midwestern. It'll give us a little idea. We'll start breaking down that film, probably tomorrow or the next day and get ready for Panhandle on Tuesday.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Coaches Show. For Coach Kellogg and the WT Sports Network, I'm Kelton Waynes.